Joining me now to discuss the story is the head of an organization that has called for a Senate ethics investigation, Melanie Sloan, director of CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. Melanie, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
So why should we care?
We should care because Senator Craig committed a crime, and as a senator, he was sworn to uphold the law, and here he is violating it.
So this is, I mean, people commit crimes all the time. I am offended by people having sex in men's rooms, and I think it's common, and I think they should knock it off right away. But is that your position? I mean, do you really think it's a major problem when men have gay sex in men's rooms?
I think it's a major problem when senators violate the law, and then particularly when Larry Craig comes out and then, even though he pleads guilty, comes out and says, oh, I pleaded guilty, but I didn't really mean it. As if somehow you can plead guilty 1 minute and then all of a sudden be innocent the next
Well, I agree.
later.
It's ridiculous, and I think it's very clear that Senator Craig was lying to the rest of us, and worse, asking us to believe his lie, become complicit in that lie, and I would not defend that and won't. I was offended by it. But my question remains to you, is it a big deal? Does it hurt society when men have gay sex in men's rooms?
I think it certainly can be harmful when men, or if there were women having sex in public restrooms.
But they're not. They're not. There's gay men having gay sex in men's rooms. And it's interesting when liberal groups get upset about gay sex. Does it make you queasy? Why is that such a bad thing?
I don't have any problem with gay sex. We actually filed an ethics complaint against David Vitter as well for engaging in heterosexual sex. What we have trouble with is senators engaging in sex crimes and not being held accountable for their actions.
Well, he pled guilty. He was fined. His political career is over. Presumably his family's going to be affected, if not destroyed. He's going to slink away in disgrace. He's being held accountable.
Well, the Senate has a long policy of having members of Congress held up to Senate rules as well. And there's a Senate rule that specifically provides that members shall not engage in improper conduct that reflects poorly upon the Senate. And here, what conduct could ever reflect poorly upon the Senate, if not this conduct, disorderly conduct for which you are convicted of a crime, and then the Senate should therefore hold you accountable. He should be censured, by the way, as should David Vitter, who committed a crime by soliciting a prostitute.
Mr. Craig, Senator Craig, has also been accused anonymously of having gay sex outside of men's rooms, presumably in circumstances that do not constitute a crime. Would that behavior discredit the Senate?
I think if there were proven evidence that Senator Craig were engaging in lewd conduct in restrooms, which whether or not he was caught by an undercover officer in that other circumstance would still be a crime.
What if he was just having extramarital gay sex? Would that reflect poorly upon the Senate?
In my book, senators should be careful being hypocritical about whether or not, about calling for family values on the one hand and then having extramarital sex of any kind. I don't think the gay sex here is the issue. Okay,
so it's only wrong for conservative senators to have extramarital sex.
I think extramarital sex is a problem, but I don't think that if we wanted, I think it would be a problem to start sitting in judgment of the personal life of every politician, because I think few could withstand that scrutiny.
Okay, so only of conservative politicians. I'm just confused as to whether you're upset that he violated the law or upset that he's a hypocrite.
I'm upset that he violated the law.
Oh, okay.
It is a crime to engage in lewd conduct in a restroom, which he's admitted to doing, and he pleaded guilty to that, and he should be held accountable by the Senate as he was in the Minnesota court.
What do you think of his hometown newspaper, the Idaho Statesman? Apparently it spent a year looking into allegations, if you can call them that he is gay. They interviewed, I think, 300 people who've come into contact with Senator Craig, spent a lot of money on this, a lot of time on it. Why would a news organization spend that much time looking into whether someone's gay?
I am not privy to what the Idaho Statesman is thinking.
Well, but based on the facts I just gave you.
But based on those, well, I can only imagine that it's because Senator Craig has taken very strong stances against homosexuality and has recorded votes against gay issues. And if he's a hypocrite on those issues, that would be worth noting.
Wait a second.
But on the other hand, I agree with you that whether or not he's engaging in gay sex on his own time isn't really any of our business.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think I have a consistent libertarian view on this. But so in other words, if you're against gay marriage, you're not allowed to have gay sex. Is that the point?
I think it is a problem if you are a senator voting against issues that affect gay people at the same time you're having gay sex.
Wait a second.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of liberals who are against gay marriage. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, John Edwards, they're all against gay marriage.
I don't think it's just a gay marriage vote. I think Senator Craig has a long record against all gay rights issues.
Huh. Name 3 others.
I think that he voted, he has been opposed to expanding ENDA, the End Discrimination Against Gay People. And I'm not familiar with his entire voting record, but from what I have read, he has a long history.
Because he just seems like a right-winger and he's affiliated with the NRA. I guess that's a stereotype.
I don't think the NRA has anything to do with it.
I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think you're operating off a stereotype. And here's the argument I would make. This is not on behalf of Senator Craig, who I think ought to go away and never come back after his disgraceful performance today in which he insulted the rest of us, suggesting we believe that after being accused of having gay sex in men's rooms for all these years, he's caught doing it, and somehow it's a coincidence. So I'm fed up with him. However, it does seem to me that you ought to be allowed to have divergent views. You ought to be allowed to be against a public policy position despite the condition of your own personal life. Barack Obama smoked cigarettes. He's still against smoking. Is that okay? Of course it is.
I actually have to say that I think it's a problem to be publicly critical of other people's conduct if you're engaging in that conduct yourself.
Huh. Do you think that you would hold Hillary Clinton to the same standard? For instance, she's got a gay outreach division of her campaign, and yet she is taking a stand against the civil rights of gay people, acting against their interests, their rights, as you just described them.
Well, I think she is in favor of civil unions, however.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean squat. She's against gay marriage. She's against the fundamental right to marry, and yet nobody jumps on her case.
I don't think it's true that nobody jumps on her case.
Well, who does? Liberal groups don't. They're totally.
I think some of the gay rights organizations,
because they wanted to be president, because they hate Bush. But let's be consistent here.
I think some gay rights organizations do get on Hillary.
I've never heard a single one. They all say every time I talk to them, they say, oh, well, you know, she's fundamentally on our side.
Look, this is not my issue. We are not a gay rights organization, so I can't tell you every politician's position on every issue affecting gay rights. I can talk to you about ethics.
I guess the only point I want to make is generally we ought to leave people's personal lives alone and allow for inconsistency in people's personal lives.
I think what we can't allow for, though, is for senators to go commit crimes and then not pay a price for it, not be held accountable.
I agree with that, and this guy's life is over, so he's paying the price. Thanks a lot, Melanie. I appreciate it.